Well, good afternoon, friends. Good afternoon. Sarah, hopefully you can still hear me in the green room there, my friend. Wonderful. So, hopefully everybody's having great weather where you are, and in Alberta here, where I am, Sherwood Park, Alberta, to be exact. It's a beautiful day outside, and today we have a wonderful guest joining us from the Ontario area. I think she's in Toronto. We'll find out about those details. But let me just do a quick introduction, though, before we have our guest join us here. Again, welcome to another episode of Conversations with Dune Friends. And today we have Sarah McVanel joining us today. Let me just do a quick introduction so you know who it is that you're hearing from over the next hour here. And feel free to comment and ask questions and engage in the conversation, folks, through the comments section. Sarah McVanel. Sarah helps individuals leverage the exponential power of recognition to retain top talents, fuel healthy teams, and sustain healthy bottom lines. She speaks nationally on the topic of lead workshops and coach leaders and conducts organizational recognition programs reviews. So again, recognition is her specialty. Sarah is a certified senior organizational development professional, professionally certified coach, as well as certified human resources leader. She is one of the 1,500 certified professional speakers at CSP worldwide, and past president of the Toronto chapter of the Canadian Association of Professional Speakers, CAPS. Now, she has a BA in psychology, a Master of Science in family relations, and diplomas in human resources and healthcare administration. Sarah has over 20 years of experience, including a senior leadership level at and now owns her boutique firm, Greatness Magnified. She's an author of peer-reviewed journals, articles, and 5 books, folks. 5 books: Forever Recognize Others, Greatness, Solution-Focused Strategies for Satisfied Staff, High Performance Team, and Healthy Bottom Lines, 2015. And then another one is The Frog Effect, F-R-O-G, yes, frog. Solution-focused strategies for, again, tools and strategies for forever recognizing others' greatness, 2016. And Great Biz Hacks, 100 plus tips to grow a profitable service-based biz that you love. Flip side of failing, how to recognize and leverage greatness in the work and in life, 2019. And Rockstar, magnifying your greatness in times of change, June 2020, well, during COVID, in fact, it was released. So with that wonderful introduction, friends, please help me in welcoming our wonderful guest, Sarah McVanel. Let's see if we can bring you in. Sarah, how are you doing today, my friend?
I'm so great. Thank you so much for having me on your show.
Yeah, this will be fun. It'll be fun. So do you live right in Toronto? I know you live on a bit of an acreage, but...
Yeah, I was born in Toronto, but no, we moved out to Niagara when I was 2, and now we live in wine country. I live 10 minutes from 10 award-winning wineries. It's a really tough life, I got to tell you.
Wonderful. Yeah, I've seen some photos of, kind of the open space that you live in, and we live on an acreage ourselves, but we're across the street from the regular subdivision. Is our acreage subdivision, is the first one before you head out of town. But yeah, so tell us, my friend, a little bit about the maybe an expanded introduction. Tell us maybe a story or two of your journey. What got you here today?
Well, I mean, I worked in organizational development, as you read in that bio. So thank you so much for that beautiful introduction. And anytime you're working with a team that was imploding, or even a newly forming team that wanted to get it off on the right foot, recognition seemed to become the common pattern about what really helped people accelerate quickly, what helped people move back into a more resourceful place, and allowed them to see the greatness in themselves and other people. So when I went out on my own, and I'm happy to share why I did that, but when I went out on my own, I realized that of all the things that I could spend my career dedicated to, recognition, I felt really compelled to help people access it more, leverage it in work and in life. But certainly when it comes to work, that this is the best way that we can deal with our talent shortage, our retention issues, our less than sometimes stellar mental health, the bullying in the workplace, so many of the challenges that people are facing every day.
Yeah.
If we leverage recognition, then we might be able to retain great people and actually want to go to work, which I would love that. Wouldn't you love it if everybody loved to go to work?
And yeah, I love it. In other words, human beings are not robots.
Right, exactly. And unfortunately, we still sometimes treat people that way. I mean, lots of us have learned huge lessons in COVID. So many of us who thought that we can have people work from home. Now we've seen that when you have no other choice, people figure it out, and you
Yeah.
don't have to monitor them and watch everything that they do. It's a great way of building trust to be able to maintain that going forward.
Yeah, you bet. So thank you for sharing that. And wow, Niagara! I remember being what is it? Niagara? Was it Niagara in the fall? On the fall, or
There's Niagara on the lake,
on the
Niagara
lake?
Falls.
On the lake, Niagara on the lake. That was a beautiful hotel there that I was kind of at for a convention and whatnot, and it was.
Which one?
It was called Niagara on the Lake, and that might be multiple of them there. Hey, but
I bet you have worked there. That's why I'm curious.
yeah, it was beautiful. It was a beautiful, venue. And so, tell us, my friend, we're going to over the hour in a bit. By the way, some of our guests run a little bit beyond the hour, and that's okay. If you happen to have time and you don't have another meeting and you want to chat further, I don't have a meeting right at sort of the hour mark. So we have flexibility if you want. But tell us, what are you doing in COVID times? In the last 6 months, I know you've been busy. I look at your website. I look at all the different things. That there's all kinds of evidence of you doing a lot of work over the last 6 months, but probably also taking a bit of a R&R as well. Tell us a bit about that. Just in general.
At the beginning of COVID, I don't know if you found the same thing, Dune. I was going, because we serve people when they're physically in the same room with us, and all of a sudden that couldn't happen. So I had about a week of freaking out when all of my speaking engagements were getting canceled. And then when my daughter came home from school just before March break ended, and she was sick with all the COVID symptoms, I realized none of that matters. It doesn't matter how many engagements are canceled. It doesn't matter what happens with my business. I've got to make sure she gets well. So I just parked myself on my couch with my laptop. That's why we have laptops. And just started creating thank you cards. I use a system called Send Out Cards. So I can send out as many thank you cards as through just creating them, designing them on the computer. And between being available to her and sending out thank you cards, that's what I spent an entire week at the beginning of COVID. And it just trying to pour in some positivity and hope and understanding into the world. And then I was able to get kind of unblocked and get creative after that. And so, did a number of things, started a book club. I figured I'm going to write a book during this time, so I might as well write it with other people. My extroverted self needed people to hang out with every day, so started that. Nice. And really, and worked really hard until I started to burn out this summer. I don't know, have you been finding that too, that there's the high exhaustion factor from working so hard during this time?
Yeah, I've actually been busier than normal. So it's been busy. I have lots of things going, and it can be overwhelming. But I mean, when I look at the stuff that you've been working on, it is clear that you have a vision that you work towards, and COVID or not, first of all, taking good care of your family is a priority, but certainly you continue the work, and seems like there's no lack of work for you during this time. It may not pay very well or immediately, but it's meaningful work.
Yeah, I've been really lucky that a lot of my clients have been willing to experiment and shift their live event to virtual. And so there's been lots of virtual speaking work and training that's been happening. A lot of coaching clients have come my way. If we can't work together in the classroom, then let's find a way of working together. And some corporations, essential services organizations who wanted to be very proactive in helping to insulate against the potential strain of their leaders. I've done coaching with the whole division, which has been super rewarding because I used to work in healthcare. So this would have been a time where I could find a way to be useful. And given that I'm not working in hospitals, I felt kind of useless at the beginning. I'll be honest with you, during SARS and H1N1 and all of our other major crises, although I never worked at the front line, I always could find a way to be useful. And we just have to redefine our meaning and contribution sometimes at this point in time. Have you found that you've been shifting and trying to define what your meaningful contribution will look like during COVID?
Yeah. I think all of us, when we are struck with a kind of a new change, this is a significant change that impacts all of us. There's always thought about, what could I stop doing? What could I start doing? And part of that included doing this. Today, my friend, you are wonderful guest number 99 from this series that I've started, where we say, community connection is an important part of making through this together. And so I decided that every weekday I would have a different guest on, and we would talk about whatever it is that guest. So from one day to the next, the topics could be quite different. But really, community connection was something that I wanted to contribute to, and it also helps me kind of stay focused on the right positive things, right?
I love that. Yeah. So important. And it's really, that's one of the things that I've been finding with my coaching clients. When people can find a way to stay connected, the virtual world, finding a safe, physically distanced way, masked up, or in your small bubble, finding a way to stay connected and to get back to rituals, or to find new rituals, just like what you just described, your daily connection with people, to find new ways of being able to be part of not just our own world. It helps us to break loneliness, to stop us from getting that hamster wheel turning and thinking unresourceful thoughts. And we all have huge value to contribute during this time. We're not doing ourselves and anybody else any favor to doubt ourselves.
Yeah, I'm going to bring up your website, and I would like to ask you to see if there's a video on there that you'd like me to roll, but also tell us about what I see. One of the links on there says cool stuff. Who doesn't like cool stuff? And so I'm going to bring it in here, my friend, and we're going to just talk through that a little bit so that people know what kind of offerings you have for the folks. And tell us about your website.
Okay. Well, I'm the frog lady, forever recognized. So you'll notice a lot of frog stuff around it. People are like, I don't understand speaking recognition, but forever recognize others' greatness. This little video montage, people are welcome to take a look at it if they like. And it really was just trying to demonstrate that there's speaking, there's training, there's all kinds of ways to connect. Why don't we head over to cool stuff? That might be kind of fun. I like cool stuff too. That's what we called it,
Before we go there, I'd love to just click play and play it for a few seconds. Is that okay?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Let me know if you can hear the sound when I click play.
Yeah, I can. Longer hair, shorter hair.
The message is simple, but she has a lot of examples of how to apply it and the importance of its application. And just looking around the room and the energy level of all the participants, it was good value to have Sarah out here today.
We're looking for the extraordinary things that people do in their ordinary lives. And that's why we're here together today. Because in the 15 years I've been a coach, consultant, professional speaker, even in my senior leadership role, I'd see people with so much potential, so much talent, and they would get squashed. The energy of recognition, that is what matters. What am I listening for that's working? What am I listening for that that person needs acknowledging?
If there's one piece of advice you could give folks if they haven't been to a session on recognition, what advice would you give people?
You know, my recommendation would just to be really like take notice to the little things, because those are the things that do matter. And yes, it might be your job, but why not say thanks to someone, or why not, you know, say, look, you did, like, I really appreciate that, because you think those things, but you don't always say them, and the other person doesn't always get that. So yeah, that would be my recommendation, is just people to take a closer look at you.
Fantastic. So now you said we should go over to cool stuff. Definitely, yeah. I'm into cool stuff. So let's go there.
You could probably tell that that video that you're just showing me was from a few years ago, because look how much shorter my hair. This is my COVID hair. Like it's like Rapunzel. It just keeps going.
Also, okay, while we're on the topic, so if that's your COVID hair, I'm going to show you my COVID hair.
I love your COVID hair. It's very dapper. You know, don't you think? If anyone who's watching, please, you know, give some props here. I love your hair now.
So here's the thing. I remember when I joined CAPS 10 years ago. CAPS Edmonton, one of our fellow speakers, just met me, and she said, "Dune, I can't figure you out." She said, "I said, what do you mean, Val?" And she says, "You know, you have a face of a 25-year-old, and you have hair of a 65-year-old. So I don't know how old you are." So anyway, a few years ago, my mom convinced me to dye my hair black, and so I've been playing in a lot of different, you know, professional bands and black hair and whatnot. But COVID, I just let it go, and here we are.
Yes. I think it suits you.
Well, thanks.
I think you need to, like, whatever age you are, just be that age. And I love the element of mystery that you have. Like, yeah, you don't know if I'm 25 or whatever. You know, take your pick, take your guess.
Yeah. So what I like to do again, I want to go to the cool stuff. Let's go to the cool stuff.
Okay. So really, when I first started my business, there was all kinds of resources that we used in the corporate environment, and I didn't want to stop using them or making them available to people. So that's what was the original genesis of this page. If you scroll down, there's all kinds of tools and resources. For example, that top right is a poster that talks about all of the business benefits of recognition. And so people who want that, who want to print off that as a poster, they can use it. There's, if you keep scrolling down, one of my favorite resources on here, I'll give you the inside scoop. Keep going, keep going. It's a recognition checklist. If you stop there for just a moment, you'll see the middle one and to the right in here, but there are two different versions. One's a fillable form, the other one you just print off and fill it out. Basically this middle one, it's a way you can hand this out to your staff, your colleagues. If you're on a board of directors, you can hand it out to your fellow board members and find out, how do they want to be recognized? Do you want to be publicly acknowledged, or would that embarrass you tremendously and you'd like it private? Does gift cards and money motivate you, or if in fact, is it more acknowledging what you've done? We know there's some trends about how the majority of people like to be recognized, and there are nuances. It's about recognizing people the way they want to be recognized, the platinum rule, as opposed to the golden rule of recognizing people the way we want to be appreciated. So that's a tool that people can use so that they don't have to guess how do my folks or how do my closest colleagues want to be appreciated, and even your clients. People can use it with their clients too. That is by far the most utilized cool stuff in that list because it's super practical.
Cool. But you have lots and lots, and folks, you can check it out offline, online after. But so the website, we have the website in the link there, you know, in the show notes, if you will. But if I go here and I do that, I think is that the correct address?
Yes,
there?
that's it. Yeah. Yes, you got it.
All right. So tell us, Sarah, is there a kind of an interesting example of recognition that you have come across or recommended or designed that might be different than what we might be thinking of? Is there one unique one that you can think of, and maybe the story behind how that played out?
Well, most of the ways in which organizations think about recognition is they think incentives. They think bonuses and gift cards and draws. It's usually money or product based. And although some industries may value that, particularly if you're in a highly competitive environment where it's compensation based or a lot of your business is, that may work very, very well because we kind of condition people to see that that is what equates to performance and value is money. The evidence doesn't show that. And so a great example of that is working in healthcare. So since we're in COVID, let's give a healthcare example. We're working with a team that was just imploding at the seams. And this is a very important team in an organization. If you're in a hospital, you want your sterile processing department to be top notch. They're the ones who sterilize the equipment, make sure everything that you need for an operation is all in the kit, that it gets there on time. They do often have to do a quick turnover. If you have knee surgery first and third, they got to quickly turn that equipment around so that it's available for the third surgery. Very important job. Would you agree, Dune? That is a very
absolutely. May I interrupt by saying I'm learning things every day talking to folks like you. And the thing I learned already today is this thing called sterilization department. I never knew there was such a thing.
Yeah, medical devices reprocessing, sterile processing. I actually am speaking for the Canadian Medical Devices Reprocessing Association next spring, and I can't wait. I'm so excited. They get so little love because they are the invisible heroes. Organization. And if you have to have a scope of any kind, they sterilize that. They're just amazing. And these people, unfortunately, often work in a windowless room in the basement. They're tucked away. And generally, anytime the phone rings, it's when there's a problem. They don't usually get acknowledged for what they do every day. So not surprisingly, perhaps this particular sterile processing department was really struggling. Lack of appreciation externally, lack of appreciation within the team. They often work on long hours, 12 hours on their feet, doing often tasks that require repetitive movement of their hands, their arms, often looking down. It's very challenging job. And it's a very specific skill. And not that anybody knows that this career exists. It's not like you are forward and you say, I really want to be a sterile processing technician when I'm older. So it's this real combination of people who have found that this is the right career for them. So therefore, it's very hard to replace somebody if you lose them. So they're often working short-staffed and it's often in many hospitals, it's a 24/7 department because emergency surgeries happen around the clock. Right. So needless to say, it can be the perfect storm for challenges. And we went in and the very first intervention that we wanted to bring to them was how can they appreciate each other more? How can you see the greatness in yourself? And how can you see that in each other? And we taught them little micro things that they could do every single day to recognize themselves and others. And we just brought a new thing every week. And then we would come back, we talk about what's working. And they started to come up with all kinds of great ideas. They started turning their whiteboards that were in the department into acknowledgement boards. And they'd handwrite with the sterilized marker, acknowledgements to each other. Anytime there was positive feedback, somebody would go write it down and put it in their staff room. They'd at their daily huddle in the morning, they would start with, who's somebody you want to acknowledge that you worked with yesterday? What's a positive thing you've heard about the department? How do you know we've made a difference? So every day would start with affirmation and acknowledgement and gratitude. They went from being the least satisfied team in the hospital, 35% satisfaction. That is really, really low, to the second most satisfied team in the hospital 2 years later, with the number one intervention being recognition. And they deserve to be, as we just talked about how important it is, they deserve to come to work and not only love what they do, but to also realize that other people are so grateful for what they do as well.
Mhm.
So that's one of my favorite stories. I talk about it in our first book, Forever Recognize Others' Greatness, because I think it's a beacon, a role model for where we can go, even when we are low, wherever we are, in our family, in our community, within our own mind, at work. We can turn it around with simple recognition hacks that make a huge difference.
Yeah, yeah. Now, you mentioned your books, and I just want to just highlight how many books. Is it 6 or 7? I didn't count there when I was reading
Five.
the
Five. Yeah.
So here's the thing. What make you wanting to write books and write more books? What is it that you find fulfilling about it? I'd love to hear a little bit more about that.
Well, I wish I had more hours in the day, because I would probably write a book every couple of months. I just have so many ideas. I used to keep separate folders of the different book ideas I came up with. So now it's one folder with all the ideas just get thrown in there. What do I love about writing? Because I don't consider myself to be a writer. I'm an author, but I'm not I don't write fiction, and I don't have that kind of creative writing talent. I wish I did. It would be so cool. But what I'm trying to do through the book is to give people a new insight, idea, hope, direction, and move them into action. So a book is a great way to make that super accessible to people, because it is so affordable. You can borrow from the library and it costs nothing, right through to be able to, now all my books I record on audio. So the last couple of books, there's an audio version. Ebooks are so easy to get our hands on. And even if you buy the print copy, if you have an Amazon Prime subscription, you can generally get it for $20, $25. So I love that thought leadership is available to the masses. So that's one of the things that inspires me. The other thing that it does for me personally is it allows me to feel like I'm contributing, I'm feeding something into the world that lasts beyond a speech or beyond my lifetime. Beyond the influence, the impact that I can have. And you never know. It's so great when somebody discovers the book, they're given the book, they find a book on the library shelf, and they reach out to me and they tell me what they've done as a result of reading it. I actually have goosebumps thinking about that, telling me that, because it just reminds me, well, what if I didn't put it in a book? What if I didn't try to figure out what's the easiest, most accessible way to write that and for people to remember it? Then that person wouldn't have been able to take that action that they felt compelled enough to tell me about. So I don't know, there's so many reasons why I also love reading books too. I have behind me tons of books. This is the streamlined version of my bookshelf here, and I've got another whole side over there. I love books. I had a mom that was a librarian. Books are a huge part of my life.
Yeah, and they look at the stuff on your website there. You have a store where people can go there and purchase stuff there, and I see all the various books, and you have cards and all that, other products as well. Tell us about some of these things and how you use them, and how people have benefited from these kinds of I guess I'm going to call them tools that you provide them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the great opportunity is your clients tell you what they need. And so on the left-hand side, the kudos cards, that's something that we would always use in organizations, and it worked really well, is just simple. I can write one word or one sentence and hand it to somebody, or put it on a board, a kudos board, and it creates this positive feeling. Even if that's not about me, I can feel great because I work in a department that other people are doing great things. And so that's a pretty common thing that high functioning organizations do, is they have some way of being able to have people communicate it. But other things like the frog tributes, which are basically compliment cards. So there's thank you cards there. And then to the right of the thank you cards are the frog tribute cards. There's an English and French version. These compliment cards actually were because we had clients saying to us, and when I say us, the first 2 books were co-authored with my wonderful friend, Brenda Zalterminda, that used to work for me. We heard from people time and time again that they wish that they had a pen with them to be able to write out a kudos card or a thank you card, but life is too busy. So we asked people, what is the best compliment you could receive? And we narrowed it down, narrowed it down to 52 of the best compliments. And why 52? Because 52 is in a deck of cards.
Mm-hmm.
So we sourced a vendor that could print them on cards, this playing card.
Let's see that. Let's see that. Hold them up. Oh, look at that.
Yeah. So,
are they printed on both sides? What's on the other side of it?
This is the frog tributes on this side. And then, so that hopefully people think, oh, I should compliment somebody. Mm-hmm. So even if you don't have the cards, but you're given one, it reminds you to compliment somebody. And then on the other side is the compliment. And you know what I find is that people never get rid of these. They hold on to them. And they, and actually you deserve this compliment, my friend, because every room you go into, you light it up. You're always smiling, always building people up, Dune. And I mean, your music that you play for us every year at convention at CAP, it lights us all up and makes us dance. So
cool.
Yeah, that's what that was from. Mm-hmm.
When did you discover the frog? When did the frog come into the picture? I know the work that you've been doing is really a continuation of what you were doing when you were really inside an organization. But when did the frog come into the picture? And I'm sure that was an important kind of point where you came up with the branding that made it overtly fun.
Right. And way before it was a brand, it was fun. It was actually my co-author, Brenda, that I worked with. She was facilitating a group. This was a group of nurses, very specialized, high-performing individuals that had such tension in their group. And it was such a high-risk area of nursing that they were really struggling. And they didn't deserve to struggle because they were great. She went around the room and she said, okay, let's get started on the right foot. I want to help all of you. Why don't you tell me what is the reason why we would hire you all over again today? Tell us about your greatness. Tell me about it so that I know, because I'm sure everybody else here knows. And she looked around the room. Nobody wanted to put up their hand and start. And she said, that's okay. Let's just start with, and she pointed to the most senior person in the room, the one that had basically mentored everybody else who was there. And she said, I don't know what I would tell anybody. I wouldn't hire myself again. So here's the person who is the wisest, most respected matriarch of this department, who doesn't even see her own greatness anymore. And initially people were surprised, and then they realized, but that's exactly how we feel about ourselves. So Brenda leaned in. She was doing so much great work. I felt very lucky to have worked with a large team of rock stars who go in and do this incredible transformation culture work with people. And this team, over the space of 2 years, evolved and shifted tremendously. And so she asked this group, what is there a way that we could remember this? Healthcare loves acronyms. Lots of industries do. Healthcare, no exception. In fact, they have to have standards about and have policies on all the acronyms they have, just so that you don't mix them up. Right. Anyway, that's a little tidbit too that you may not know about healthcare.
That surprised me, but it makes sense. You don't want acronym to be interfering with really important acronyms and get mixed up. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, and short forms are used a lot in documentation, so you definitely don't want to misunderstand it. So because healthcare loves acronyms, she said, what's an acronym we can come up with to remember this incredible work that you have all committed to doing over this extended period of time? And somebody who barely contributed at all in all of these team sessions, all of a sudden said, well, what about FROG? Forever recognize others' greatness. Because really that's what we do. We forever recognize each other's greatness now. And everyone, yes, that's great. And they basically transformed their unit into a frog bog, except it was, of course, very clean. With frog, you can get frog everything, plush toys and eye masks and candy, and order frog cakes for celebrations and everything. And they really leaned into this. The kudos board that they had, it had a frog theme to it. They found frog motivational posters, if you can believe it, they have that too. And that's what, it just became the theme of their team. So we started taking it and Brenda was the spearheaded this. She started bringing it to other teams too. And then other members of the team, including me, started to use this, either as recognition as the starting point, and then people could come up with their own acronym, or other people, would want to use FROG as well. And so we have lots of organizations that have adopted FROG, which is cool. They're frogsters. We like to call them frogsters. And we frogify people. I often say to perfect strangers, hey, have you been frogged lately? And you get one of two reactions. I'll just warn you if anyone wants to do that. You'll either get somebody laughing kind of awkwardly, or they will look at you like they need to call security. So just don't actually maybe do it when somebody's standing beside security. But then you tell them quickly what it means. It's, I want to I believe in forever recognizing others' greatness. And the greatness I see in you is, and you, when it's not COVID time, I actually carried little squishy frogs in my purse and give them to people and frog people.
Wow.
So, because people are starved for being acknowledged. And one of the greatest things that we have happening right now, I think one of the, if we have to find meaning out of COVID, it's that we're acknowledging essential services workers that we expect are going to be there and support us all the time. Mm-hmm. And we're finally acknowledging them for the incredible people that are there like rocks for us all the time. They are our rocks, which is where Rockstar came from. So, it's a great opportunity to remember never to stop acknowledging and recognizing people. So that's where Frog came from.
Yeah, wonderful stories. And I must comment on the colors as well. I love the fact that you have green and purple. As many of us know, purple is a bit of a color of hope, and green, of course, is lots of meaning in green as well. So love the colors, my friend. So you do some speaking and some coaching and certainly some training as well. Tell us about what's the typical kind of event that you might be engaged in, let's say pre-COVID time. Mm-hmm. I know you've gone and prepared yourself, and in fact, I see a certified virtual presenter here, right at the bottom here with the e-speakers. And tell us a bit about your typical event that you might be working at.
Yeah, pre-COVID, it would be groups of between usually 50 and 1,000 people speaking at an association or for a company. The companies, it would tend to be strategy meetings. And so I would be part of the people plan part of, so recognition being a big focus, or them feeling like they need to infuse focus into their people plan. Sometimes it's part of their core leadership focus and leadership development program. So elevating people's awareness about how to better work with folks. And the associations, so many people are starved for recognition. And so that's a very easy fit. I've yet to run into any association. We have 20,000 in Canada. That's like, you know what? We're so acknowledged and appreciated. We don't really need any help. Our people are just, they're just sick of hearing about how grateful people are for them. So generally that's what I would be doing. And now in COVID times, it's the virtual world. So speaking for groups of between 15 and 500, I'm speaking for 500 in a week from now. And it's not the same as physically being all together, but it's pretty darn close. One of the greatest things about the virtual speaking world is that I get real-time live connection with people constantly all throughout. In fact, I encourage people to annotate all over my screens. And that's not how everybody likes to do it, but I think it's great because it means that people are really connecting with what I'm talking about. Cross it out if you don't believe it, check mark, heart it, stamp it, all those sorts of things. Whereas I don't really have that kind of feedback when I'm doing it live with people from the stage. This picture here is speaking for the Operating Room Nurses Association of Canada. That was in 2017. And I feel so grateful to be returning to be their closing speaker in 2021, because OR nurses, again, unsung behind the scenes heroes, providing incredible skilled care every day and in our biggest, most tragic moments as well. Almost every single hospital that has an operating room has people there around the clock because, I mean, accidents and all kinds of things. They need nurses, operating room nurses, ready to go. That picture's up here in my office. This one is for other nurses, actually. It was for nurses who help folks with irritable bowel syndrome and so forth. I'm trying to remember the name of their association. But you can tell there was a lot of wine glasses at that table. So clearly I was the after dinner speaker. I think you have to be consuming alcohol in order to listen to me. But that particular group, it was a really, really fun group. I was the after dinner person there. So yeah.
After dinner is way better than during dinner, right?
Oh my gosh. I have done that too. And I have realized that that's not a good fit. People need to digest their food before they have the intensity of Sarah. So yeah, that was speaking for Meeting Professionals International. By the way, anyone watching this, if you haven't reached out to your travel, events, conference venues and organizers, anybody that you know that's an event professional, please reach out to them. If their industries, travel, tourism, conferences, events, meetings, it's been obliterated in COVID, and we have no idea when that's going to come back. So even though a few events are happening in the virtual world, hotels are still pretty darn empty. Folks who are working in them are really nervous about their futures and their jobs. So if you know anybody in those sectors, please reach out to them and tell them how grateful you are and how you're thinking about them.
This is a time where you can have huge impact on just being thoughtful and kind. More than ever, the kindness is appreciated, particularly by those who are heavily impacted by the pandemic here.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, signs, I've spoken with lots of nurses and people in developmental services sector, transit workers, leaders in those spaces as well. When they see a sign on that lawn that a little child has made, or you've taken spray paint, you've said, thank you, essential services workers, doesn't have to be fancy. They are noticing it. They are grateful, and they're tired. They've been in this from day one. They didn't get a day off. They had to quickly pivot, figure out, they're often redeployed to areas that weren't their areas that they worked in, sometimes stretching outside their comfort zones, sometimes taking on risk. So if you don't have a sign on your lawn, if you haven't, picked up the phone and called your friend who's a nurse or put something on Facebook lately, please do it. We need to make sure that they know we're listening and paying attention to them right now.
Yeah. Now, I'm going to put a quick piece of text on the screen there. What would you like that text to be, my friend? Sarah, your call to action in a few words would be, so that I can put it on the screen there for our viewers.
Yeah, my call to action would be to write a thank you card. Write a thank you card every day until COVID's over. Your former teacher, your best friend, your next door neighbor, the CEO of the local hospital that has been super visible on Twitter so that you're up to date on everything that's happening. Your local mayor, if you feel your mayor has been doing a good job of keeping things safe. Anyone that you feel, whether you know them or not, write a thank you card. And if you can't write the card, you can't find their address or, whatever that barrier may be, put a post on Facebook, send a private message, text somebody, acknowledge somebody every single day until COVID's over. And the great thing is it's going to become a habit. The best way to create a habit is just to start and just keep on going. And also, people really we always need to feel valued, heard, and appreciated. And when people are stressed, when they're not feeling resilient, when they're compassion fatigued and exhausted and burnt out, that's when we really need it most. So,
as an example, once in a while I would feel the stress and pressure of work and life and whatever have you. And the thing I do is I go to my wife and my kids, and we always hug. We're quite a bunch of huggers here. So I would hug them and I say, I'm going to need just some extra support over the next little while. So that's my way of kind of asking for it. And of course, the reverse of that is also we need to give it as well, right? And I think so many people are quite good at calling out the things that are wrong, and you know, but what I'm hearing and what I know, I also agree with you that we don't have enough people talking up the positive side, encouraging people, supporting people during tough time, rather than just tearing down what is apparently wrong. And there's a lot of things wrong in the world, but maybe we can also focus on the positive side as well.
Well, that's how we get through the tough stuff. Those are the things that aren't working, as we focus our energy also on what's working. You know, one of the habits that I've been trying very hard to practice every single day is when I wake up in the morning, instead of my first thought being, oh, I didn't get enough sleep, or I have so much to do today. Oh, what am I going to have for dinner? I don't think I know. I don't feel like cooking. I haven't even put my feet out of the bed yet. And I think about everything that's ahead of me. And instead, it's shifting it to, wow, I got 7 hours, or I got 6.5 hours. Wow, that's great. That's a good starting place for the day. What do I feel like eating today? What do I feel like cooking? Who do I have to look forward to that's in my calendar today? Like, you know, when I woke up this morning, I said, oh, right, we're going to have this conversation. I've been so looking forward to it. Rather than think, oh, my day is so full. It's more, what do I get to enjoy about my day? So when but that's a lot of discipline to have that mindset. So when we a lot of us are more comfortable with showing that and externalizing it. And that's the great thing about recognition, is that you can externalize the focus of appreciating other people, acknowledging them. And it gets so much easier to acknowledge yourself when you've been acknowledging so much of other people. Yeah.
Now, I just want to tell our viewers who might be thinking of, again, looking you up online, you have all kinds of social media presence as well, whether it's in the YouTube channels. I'm just going to bring it in here and just gonna share it with our viewers here. So you have YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and probably a few other things.
Yes, right? My kids are embarrassed that I'm on TikTok now too.
Well, I've seen one of your dance, dance clips. Tell us about that side of you, my friend. You're quite a great dancer and choreographer. Tell us about that. Go beyond your quote unquote professional work.
Yeah, thank you. Well, it's funny how it's been a bit of a mashup now. I danced as a kid. I won some awards, went to performing arts high school, and told myself, as many teenagers tell themselves, I'm not good enough for this. So I pulled myself out of the dance program, and I moved into drama, technical theater. So I loved it. I grew up in Niagara-on-the-Lake, got a chance to do my co-op placements at the Shaw Festival Theater. Anyone who knows theater in Niagara region and beyond will know the Shaw Festival Theater. So it was an amazing experience, but I really miss dance, and I had wanted to get back into it. Although, you know, when you're middle-aged, it's sort of not the thing that people do. Although the great thing about middle age is you don't really care anymore about what people think you should do. So I joined a tap class, adult tap class, and learned to tap because I'd always wanted to tap as a kid. We didn't have tons of money when I was a kid, so we had to pick one thing, one activity. And for me, it was jazz dance. So I wanted to learn hip hop. Started at 38, and then I wanted to learn hip hop. So I started that at 41. And when I came out with the book Flip Side of Failing, I thought, what better way to teach about failing is for us all to learn together. And most of us are wallflowers now. So in the middle of the keynote is teaching people how to dance. And I teach them 6 hip hop moves. In fact, I've just been working with my hip hop dance teacher to re-choreograph that model that dance so that I can teach people hip hop sitting down. So the steps up, waist up, which is going to be really fun. So picture a Zoom screen with all of your colleagues doing some hip hop moves. It's going to be so much fun. But
You know
at
what?
the end of my keynote, Flip Side of Failing keynote, I actually do a 2.5-minute hip hop dance performance to Beyonce's "Girls Rule the World," or "Run the World." So it's a lot of fun.
I'm gonna embarrass you. I'm gonna surprise you, and we're gonna surprise our viewers. We're gonna surprise them. Tell me, it doesn't matter. You can pick your social media or website or wherever it has to be. A video of you doing some of these dance moves. So yeah,
okay,
you can
my
pick. You can,
feeling demo video. So
yeah,
if you go to the playlist and you do demo videos
of the YouTube, you mean?
on the YouTube channel, yeah.
Okay, let me.
Yeah, the playlist.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, and then demo videos.
Okay, is it further down?
I actually can't.
Let me just make it bigger for you here. One second. Here we go. Isn't this fun?
Okay. Obviously, this goes to show how rarely I look at my own videos. So we could look at the flip side of failing. That hopefully it's on that playlist too.
Yeah.
Now, speaker videos right beside it. Sarah McVanel speaker videos right beside that.
Yeah, I was looking for demo videos, but speaker video. Okay.
Sorry. And then if you scroll down to in the playlist list there to the right, there should be the flip side of failing one. You'll see flip side of failing demo.
Yeah.
One more time.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it.
There we go. Isn't this exciting?
This is fun.
Hold on, let me just correct the sound here.
Okay.
Now, probably you won't attend many sessions where you will have your opening day keynote talking about failure. That's kind of like one of those things like, can I at least let the caffeine hit my bloodstream before we start talking about heavy topics? And hey, who would want it? This is our dictionary definition. Failure is a lack of success or a failure to achieve expected outcomes. When you can see that there is an obstacle, a challenge, or roadblock, that they may be on the other side of it, there may be greatness, then you get a chance to redefine the very definition of success. And what is so unexpected about failure anyway? Failure happens to all of us, and failure happens every single day. So maybe we get an opportunity to see, in fact, there's a flip side. Because when we can embrace that, maybe in fact there's failure, there could be some gains from that. Because really, when you fail, it gives you an opportunity to learn. And when you can learn, it ignites you about something you perhaps never wanted or planned to learn. And then you can praise yourself and others in the most truly authentic, meaningful way that you need to. You shared how, in fact, it was the journey of trying to write a book on greatness. And yes, I failed to write that book twice. I'm living my own message here, everybody. You know what I learned when I had to really dig into that lesson? That there's only one theme that arose in every single one of those interviews, from Everest climbers to Olympians to 3M scholars to philanthropists. The one thing that they shared was how invaluable failure is in their work, their life, and their business. I learned that, in fact, how they approach the world is they have a failure resilient mindset. This is the root thing that I was so shocked at. How they handled failure was how they handled everything. Because if you can bounce back from failure, look at how much more resilient you can be in your everyday experience. The road to success and growth is lined with failures, of suppliers who let you down, of maybe a staff member who's stolen from you or hasn't been honest with you, when your plans don't work. But every time that happens, it lowers the waterline on your business. And you may not want to learn that lesson, but gives you an opportunity to say, what do I need to learn? You see, if you're comfortable, you're probably settling. When I first said, we're gonna dance, for some of you like, we're gonna what? Yeah. But if you stretch outside your comfort zone, then it can ignite something that you never thought possible. This gets us out of feeling stuck, doesn't it? When we try something new, when it ignites us, when we can find a passion. So my friends, the question is, can you dance with failure? And you know, I want to dance with you. I want to tell you something about failure. Failure is normal, failure is human, and it is nothing to be ashamed of. See, you can deflate from failure, you could even just mitigate the damage, but what truly great people who lean into failure, and I know every one of you in this room has had this experience, you can elevate from it on the other side.
That was fun. I haven't watched that in so long.
Very cool. So now I'm really hoping that you don't have a meeting in a couple minutes, my friend.
No, I'm
That's
good.
Sarah, that we can
Yeah,
continue a little bit. That's only assuming that you're having fun still.
I'm good. I'm having so much fun. This is great. You're a wonderful interviewer. I can't believe an hour has gone
An
by
hour has
already.
gone by. See, so I want to dig into different things, and one of the things that I wanted to hear a bit more is so all of this work that you do with speaking and writing, all the kind of thing. What's your hobby outside of work beyond dancing? Do you have another hobby or two that you want to share that might surprise some of the people who know you, my friend?
Well, I don't know if it'll surprise people. I'm a pretty open book. So if people follow my Instagram and Facebook, it's just, I kind of share everything. My husband often will come home from work and he'll say, did you post what we did last night? Because we all know. Yeah, I did. I mean, there's nothing wrong with sharing, what we did last night. So for example, kayaking. We live in wine country on the water. So we'll hop in a kayak and we'll paddle around or paddle boat, which is kind of a nerdy thing. So I'm not supposed to take pictures of my husband in the paddle boat because he thinks it's too nerdy. We'd love to do outdoorsy things, snowshoe, cross country ski. I love yoga. The sweatier, the better. I know it's kind of gross, puts a bad image, but I love it. And what else? I have two teenagers. Sometimes people don't expect that. I have a 17-year-old son, Justin, who just got his driver's license. So he is very independent. And daughter, Simone, who's 15. Love spending time with them. I'm a speaker, but don't love to get on airplanes. That's maybe something that people don't know about me.
Wow.
If I could do all of my work locally and never have to leave my family, that would be perfect because I just miss them. The second I start driving down the road, I miss them.
Which is a great segue into telling us more about the project you had where you were putting in place a venue right on your property. Tell us about that, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
exciting.
So when I was working full time as a senior leader, we had no time for anything. And my son actually came home after a terrible bullying day, which we didn't know was going on. And he was beside himself. And we realized we really needed to make some huge changes in our life for his mental health and well-being, as well as, frankly, our wellness for all of us. And we didn't quite know what to do, what to change. We just knew we needed to make some changes. And I was lying on my mat in Shavasana, which is called corpse pose. Basically, you're laying on the floor, which I have to say, if there's an activity where you're allowed to officially lie on the floor, and that's considered to be exercise, I want to be a part of that. So I'm laying on the floor and we're just chill. And all of a sudden, this vision came into my head of living in a place in the country where, looking out the window, I could see there was water and a rolling hill. And this peace washed over me. And I was standing in a room with motivated adults, teaching them or talking with them, and they were really making huge progress. And I realized in this vision, this was my space, and we live on the property and we live on the water. And it was a completely different vision of the life that I was living at that time. So I went home and told my husband. He was completely freaked out because he's like, oh my gosh, that is exactly the opposite of the life we're living. And we had a great life. Don't get me wrong. It was, we feel very, very lucky for the life that we had. It just wasn't going to work for our family's well-being. And so we sold everything. We sold our cottage, we sold our house, we got out of debt. We moved back to Niagara, which is actually still where my parents are living. And this space that you were just asking about it's the manifestation of that dream. Our house, I can see the roof from where we are, and this is an old converted barn. It was built during the Second World War to house the women who came to work the fields in Niagara when the men went to war. And it was basically had been falling apart. And so we brought it back to life. And now on the main level downstairs, I'm on the second floor up here. This is my office. The main level downstairs, we can have groups of up to 30 people when it's not COVID time, and can facilitate really powerful dynamic conversations in an environment, you know, around a hearth. And we can bring in food. We bring in food trucks to eat it at lunchtime. And it's an amazing opportunity to do good work and to not have to leave my family to do it.
Wow, beautiful story, and thank you for sharing that. And if I may, I don't know if you have a name for it, but the thought that came to my mind was like barn of dreams.
That's so beautiful. We actually had a naming contest, and it's called Greatness Restored Barn, because we restored the greatness of this barn, and because my business is Greatness Magnified, and of course the greatness in frog. But I love that
barn of dreams. Tell us the name you landed on, Sarah.
Greatness Restored Barn. And Greatness Restored Barn actually has its own Instagram page.
Oh wow, there you go. So it's gone somewhere. Look at that. Yeah. Did I get that right?
You got it. You got it. You're very fast with this stuff. My God. My beeline skills are nothing in comparison to your skills. Yeah.
It's been a long time since I typed the word barn. So when I came to Canada, my first job was to work around a barn, and we were doing haze and bale and lifting. It's just hard work, really hard work. And I appreciate the hard work that people do there on the farm, certainly.
Well, I don't quite work that physically hard. Behind us, this fireplace is where they used to throw the hay out. And in fact, on the floor, we kept the floors, the original floors. There's dents all right by the spot, because that's where they would use the hook to be able to get the straw hay bales. They would throw the hook in and pull it down. And they would be standing outside, but you have to throw it up to the second floor and pull it down. So
nice.
You can see the original for hardworking people like you. But I don't hang out up here and write books like this.
So I certainly don't work do a lot of physical work these days, but that was my introduction into work in Canada when I was 13, actually. 13.
Wow.
Yeah. So certainly appreciate
What was that? Were you?
So I was 13, and it was early 80s, and I was in a small town of 5,000 people called Westlock, Alberta. And when you immigrate to Canada, you work part-time while you're in, I guess, even junior high school. You work part-time in the evenings and weekends, whatever. But so tell us, my friend, as we think about, again, maybe post-COVID. So eventually we hope that COVID will subside to a level where we find sort of the, whether you call it a new normal or whatever we call it, at some point we're going to go kind of beyond the current impact here. What's your vision? If this whole line of work that you're doing could just be evolving, given our knowledge of what COVID has shared with us, do you have a vision for the future? 5 years from now, what does that look like for you?
My vision is that we have created such a strong recognition movement and such deep understanding about how important it is to appreciate the people that are all around us doing essential work all the time, that we can't help but keep that momentum going. That individuals who work in essential services, from grocery store clerks to emergency room nurses, to family doctors, to bus drivers, to developmental services workers, that every single time we see them, we say, thank you so much for choosing this field. Thank you for showing up today. Thank you for going the extra mile. Thank you for caring about me, or caring for my mom, or caring for this community. And that has become part of who we are. Whether you're Canadian or you're from the US, wherever you're tuning in here, Dune's Friends, that is part of your DNA. that you know that there's something wrong if you haven't recognized somebody today. That would be one of the things that I would hope continues. One of the lessons learned from COVID is how much we depend on so many people, and that they are always there for us, and that they may have been they can feel as invisible as they are to us, but it's up to us to make sure that they are visible and that we acknowledge that we see them.
Yeah. I'll tell you a quick story. During COVID, my mom actually fell ill really bad at the early part of it. She's healthier now, so thank God. But so she went to the hospital, and as always, our hospital system has been fantastic. And coming out and recovering, one of the first things she thought of was to put together a big bouquet of flower and to send it in to the doctors and nurses with the cards, and she have all of us signed it and whatnot. So gestures like that when I mean, our healthcare system is not perfect, but it is fantastic.
No industry is perfect. No system's perfect. And I'm glad that your mom was remembering them and wanted to follow up with them, because lots of people, again, having spent most of my career before I worked for myself in healthcare, majority of people just assume that folks will just do their job. And people can choose how much effort they choose to put into their job, how much extra training, how many extra shifts they pick up. So the more we acknowledge people, the better our healthcare system is going to be, because people are better able to concentrate. They bring their whole selves to the job. They're more likely to pick up that shift because somebody got sick, and so there now is a vacancy. So when they get that phone call and they've been putting in a lot of hours, they're more likely to take it, because they're going to say, my patients not only need me, they care about me. They're going to acknowledge me when I'm there. And then instead, there's a lot of demands and not a lot of appreciation. So if we want our healthcare system to be better, it's not about what other people have to do. Every single Canadian can do our part to make our healthcare system better too, by acknowledging and appreciating what is already present.
Be part of the kindness revolution.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's great. Wonderful. I know you do some blogging as well, my friend. Sarah, how often do you blog? And tell us a little bit about your blogging kind of work. Yeah.
So almost every blog is based on a question somebody's asked me at the end of a keynote, or they have messaged me through my contact me page, or it's something a coaching client has brought up. And so what I do is I generally record videos and vlogs and post those on YouTube, and then take the transcript of those and rewrite it in terms of a blog post, which also gets shared on LinkedIn as well. Sometimes there's exceptions. So right now, the posts that have gone out have been about the podcasts that I've been fortunate enough to be on, like yours. So this conversation, I like to do roll-ups of the different places where I've been lucky enough to be on the podcast. So this week and last couple of weeks, we've been talking about, here are some of the podcasts and different themes where we've been talking about how to flip failure and boost resiliency during challenging times. So it's actually, there's no video for the last couple of weeks. However, there's audio. But most of the time though, it's a vlog that's about 5 minutes long, and then it's been also rewritten to be a written piece that is shared. So I find, because different people like different mediums. Some people prefer to watch the video, some people prefer to read it. And so we have lots of different ways. One of my favorite ones is that one on the very right hand side that you've got there. It looks like a drawing. It's an amazing coaching conversation that I was given permission to share the highlights of. Was these amazing frontline healthcare leaders, or I was doing some team coaching with them, and talking about how it seems like everybody's shown like up today like they're zombies. It's like they are sort of oblivious to what's going on around them. They're negative. It's like they're attacking me. So I said, great, let's go with it. So if they were zombies, if these people were zombies, what do you do if you have a zombie? If it's a zombie apocalypse, what do you do with a zombie? He shared with me, what do you do? And I didn't know the answer to that. This is what you would do if it was a zombie. Great. So I think they said something like, whack them on the head was one. So we use that metaphorically. We're obviously not going to whack anybody on the head,
Yeah.
but metaphorically, what would be the equivalent of what you would actually do if you were going to try to knock something on the head? What would you do? And they came up with this incredibly resourceful list of things. So I turned that into a video, and then my editor.
May I play it, my friend? May I play it? It looks like fun. It looks like fun.
It is fun. You'll see the talent of Stacy Cotis, who is my videographer and editor of all my videos here. Go ahead and play it.
Let me know if you can hear it.
How do you deal with complainers?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, the number of times that I've worked with clients in coaching on this very thing, whether it's their boss, their peers on a project, staff, or customers, it's really challenging to keep your spirits up, your morale, and your focus when you have a lot of negativity around you. I was coaching a group of really smart, savvy middle managers. They work in healthcare, and here it is, the middle of COVID, and I'm trying my very best to help them. Now, it was interesting because in our previous conversations, they had been talking about how resourceful and how curious people were is they're trying to get through COVID to get through it together. There was a real collegiality. There was a lot of understanding on the family members and patients' part. And one of them shared with me at the top of our call, it's all of a sudden today like a scene out of The Walking Dead. Everybody's just miserable and grouchy and behaving inappropriately. You know what I'm saying? Where people are just focused and fixated on destruction of people, and they're just so unhappy and miserable, and they want to know you have heard them. So I figured, since they're all in agreement that it feels like they are currently working and serving a whole bunch of people walking around like zombies, let's use that as a metaphor for a second. So I asked them the strangest question I've ever asked anybody in coaching. If your experiences were one where you might be dealing with zombies, how might you deal with those zombies? After a bit of a pause, somebody went, well, I guess you'd hit a zombie over the head. And somebody else piped in and they said, well, you should definitely consider hiding from them. And somebody else said, and don't forget about physically distancing because you don't want to get infected. All good points. I mean, I actually didn't realize what I would do if I came across a zombie, but now I know. So I said, okay, great. So now we have our 3 strategies. What might that look like in a work context of dealing with people? And sure enough, an infinite number of possibilities arose. So let me walk you through some of these, and I think you'll find these really helpful. Number 1, so the hit them over the head. Obviously, we're not going to hit anybody over the head. But really, the ideas that they started to generate were all around being direct. Acknowledge that you heard somebody. Speak specifically about what you're willing to accept and what is not okay. Put some boundaries and some lines in the sand. Repeat back exactly what you heard and ask for confirmation. Ask for clarification about what they want and need and expect from that conversation. Great suggestions, right? Strategy number 2, hide. Obviously, we can't hide from the people that are complaining. However, we can delineate our time and our energy. For example, you may not want to respond to somebody immediately. Take a beat. Calm yourself down, make sure they're calmed down. Ask if you can phone somebody back or respond to them in a moment. Acknowledge the email and say, I'll get back to you shortly. Book a time when you can speak in person, whether it be virtual or face-to-face. And of course, know that you don't want it to seep into the rest of your energy and your time as well. So one of the strategies we came up with is batch miserable tasks. If you know that you have a number of folks who are consistently complaining, respond to those emails or return those phone calls collectively, but not until you've done something that feeds your soul, makes you feel productive, a sense of accomplishment, somebody or something that's been positive before, so that you go into those conversations resourcefully.
Strategy number 3 around how do you distance and how do you not get contaminated by that negativity? Well, this is all around boundaries. This is about taking your breaks, making sure that if you're getting depleted, you take a vacation day, about not letting them see you sweat. Perhaps you've taken that pause like we just talked about. And then when you are in the thick of that tense conversation, remember that they are a human too. Here's one of their favorite suggestions that we came up with. Everything that they're complaining to you about, assume it is a reflection of something that they don't like about themselves or their situation. Why can't you be more organized? Might be something in a patient environment like, why can't my family get ourselves organized to take care of mom the way she deserves? Why aren't you more organized with the schedule? Might be, why can't my family feel less chaotic and feel calmer? My friends, dealing with complaints, really, when we assume the person has a negative intent, it gets us into this place where they feel and they seem they're struggling. There's something that is not working in their world, in their environment. And you maybe don't see it at this point, but you have the opportunity to completely turn that around. You have the opportunity to see them as a human being, to see them as more resourceful as they are even seeing themselves right now, and to embrace the idea that they have greatness, it's just really well hidden. You've probably heard me share before that a complaint is merely a poorly worded request. If this individual were feeling more resourceful and less zombie-like, because zombies don't always have the most intellect while they're super stressed, right? Imagine if, in fact, they were able to better articulate what their wants and needs were. What would they share with you? My name's Sarah McVanel, helping you to be your greatness magnified every day. If you know somebody that you think would benefit from this video, why don't you share it with them? Because let's face it, we all have complainers in our lives. And if you like what you saw here, please subscribe because I'd love to see you come back every week.
Well, that's wonderful, Sarah.
Thank you. It was fun.
Yeah. The word that I thought of when that was when you were wrapping that up there was compassion. Don't you agree?
Yes, and actually, we talk about in the healthcare world, we can help people to move from compassion fatigue to compassion satisfaction. And so you hit the nail beautifully on the head, because it's because we care so much, because healthcare providers care so much. That's what, in fact, can why they can burn out. So same with family members, same with all the essential services professionals who've been helping us to get through COVID, is that people are on the verge of burnout if they haven't already burned out. So recognition is the key way to insulate against that and to help people to keep going. So if you want to feed positively into the world, acknowledge the people that you need, that you rely on, that you value, who need to feel some self-compassion, and that you feel very compassionately about the situation and the circumstances they're going through.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. We have one of our friends, Trista, says stars and awesome. She's enjoying it.
I'm glad, Trista. Yes.
Yeah. So as we wrap this up, my friend Sarah, when I reach out and say, Sarah, would you like to join us for an hour and a bit, talking about whatever we want to talk about, whatever you want to talk about? Were there areas that you wanted to chat about that we haven't gotten to yet, my friend?
I want to know what you're working on musically. That's what I want to know. Yeah.
Actually, I think I'm going to try and manage the music timing, the time investment a little bit. As you know, what I did was for 11 years in my 30s, all the way from 30 to 41, cut out music. It was like too busy for music. Imagine that. Silly me. 41 till now. I've been really focusing, spending a lot of time with music, playing in several professional bands, and doing, of course, the corporate thing and all the stuff that I do as well with leadership development and some other work that I do. But what happened is right now with COVID, I have committed to writing my first book. So the music thing, So I'm going to follow your path there, Sarah. I'm going to be, kind of crawling here with my first book, and so that will take some focus. So I have to be careful how much more I invest in music, but I certainly have been try to serve the music community with some of even live jams. We've been able to host live jams where, let's say 10 performers would be able to play for our audiences. So I'm happy to be able to contribute to those kind of, again, community connection. But to actually sort of develop anything further on music that is a big project, I wanted to probably park that aside for now and focus on writing that book.
Yeah. Good for you. The world needs just a slightly different evolution of your genius right now, which is great. That's awesome. Well, I mean, hey, our next CAPS convention is a year December, so remember, keep the vocal cords and the strings, keep yourself limber, because we need you every single CAPS convention.
Yeah. So if there's any other topics that you want to chat about, I have time. Anything else you want to chat?
This was a wonderful conversation. Thank you so much for the opportunity to chat. What is your advice? What are you hoping for in 5 years? Or on the other side of this? I think that was the question. Yeah.
I'm hoping, and I'm believing that there's a very good likelihood that is going to happen. I'm hoping that we are going to be much better than we were before before COVID, because I don't want to equate it to, other events such as war and whatnot, but we do know that the 20s were very exciting, partially because we were trying to rebuild from a major worldwide, world war, right? So when COVID has such a pervasive impact on the entire world, I can only see this rebuilding, almost like even a forest fire has some vibrant growth after, right? So COVID is going to do what it does. We're going to be our best, do our best to try and minimize the impact and the losses and whatever have you. But then after it's done, I think we have a new perspective, and I think we have a new pent up demand to kind of grow. And so I think post-COVID, in my opinion, is going to be a very exciting time.
Yeah. Well, and it's not a lot of people know that there was a pandemic in actually right around that time. So was it 1918?
You bet.
And so we have come a long way, baby. I mean, we did not have the systems in place that we have now, from grants to healthcare, public health units, to the kind of understanding and expertise and the rapid turnaround of being able to try to get vaccines. So, I mean, as unfortunate, and nobody would ever want this, and we are in a better position than the last time we had a worldwide global pandemic in 1918. I mean, we've had other massive epidemics in sort of.
I believe you're referring to the Spanish flu.
I think that's what it was. I just call it the 1918 pandemic. That's what we call it almost. But so you're right. We can rebuild. I like that metaphor of the forest fire. And it just reminds me so much of, we wouldn't think twice about thanking all of those people who put out that forest fire and how grateful we are. So let's keep that going on the other side.
And when we hug, we just appreciate that even more.
Yes, I know. Oh my God.
And when we have live events where we can see each other right there and be able to, we just appreciate that even more, right?
And the permission, the other nice thing that's coming out of the hug piece is that people are saying, is it okay if I give you a hug? And I actually think we kind of are at that point, without at the risk of getting too politically correct here in our conversation. Sometimes people take a little bit of liberty, not just with the hugging, but also about on social media, what they say to people. And, we do have to be more aware of how we behave with people. So it's raising a level of self-awareness about what's okay and not okay, and making us check in with ourselves and each other.
Yeah.
So there's lots of little tiny subtle lessons, not just really big global lessons, subtle lessons too through all of this.
Yeah, it's just to highlight that point that you made. I heard of one speaker who had, what is it? Little stickers made, a round little dot, green, yellow, and red. Green, amber, he called it. Green, amber, and red. And if you're at an event and if you're green, it's like, okay, I'm good for anything kind of thing in terms of proximity. Red is like, okay, please stay away as far as you can. And amber is like, be cautious.
Right. Yes. Besties only. Yes. I love that. That's a very creative solution.
Yeah. So
thanks so much. This was great.
I have one more thing for you. Maybe two more things. So the one thing that I want you to do is, if you can distill what we've been talking about here into maybe 3 words, what might those 3 words be, Sarah?
Can I have 4?
Sure, you can have 4 words. Yeah.
Forever recognize others' greatness.
There you go. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and do that. And just put it up there. And so there it is, right?
Yes.
Did I get that correct?
You got it. Forever recognize others' greatness.
Is it others with an S at the end?
Yep. Others with an apostrophe after the S.
Yeah. This little software is being kind of silly on me here. Give me a second. So the other thing I wanted to ask you, I'll put that up in a moment here. The other thing I want to ask you is to go ahead and take us out, my friend. Imagine I've just handed the steering wheel over, and I'll be a willing passenger to have you take us out. Take as long as you like. Take us, be as quick as you like, however you like. Take us out on this broadcast here, my friend.
Imagine a world where every single person felt valued and appreciated for exactly who they are. That when you went to work, your strengths, your gifts, your passions, your talents, your virtues were exactly what the organization wanted and needed, and that is what you were called to contribute every single day. Imagine if when you went home to your family at night, they were curious and wanted to know about all of the incredible experience you had, and that you were equally curious about them, and that your conversation was so positive that you coming from a place of abundance and mutual support and gratitude that you were in each other's lives was the discourse that you had. And imagine that your friends didn't feel like you didn't spend enough time with them, that you felt collaborative and you felt supported and you felt part of that community. And imagine if everywhere you went in the community, whether it be your volunteer activities, where you shop, and where your kids go to school, you could feel the appreciation, the gratitude, and the sense of contribution. It was palpable. Nobody had to say a word. And whatever you witnessed, you could see people forever recognizing each other's greatness, because they just simply believed every single person wanted each other and they wanted to do well as best as they could. That's my imagination.
Imagine. So this is another version of imagine. All right. Well, thank you so much, Sarah. Folks, you have been listening to Sarah McVanel, and a wonderful friend from, now I know it's the Niagara Fall area, Niagara Lake, Niagara Fall, and beautiful, beautiful part of Canada. And thank you, folks, for tuning in now and later on in the recorded replay. And till we meet again, folks, take good care of yourself, take good care of one another, and have a wonderful day. Thank you so much again, Sarah.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Dune. Bye-bye.
Bye.